Hello, and welcome to Behavior Breaks. This resource is provided by the Arkansas Behavior Support Specialist. My name is Kat Lancaster, and I'm one of the behavior support specialists that serves the Northwest Arkansas Education Service Cooperative. Today, we are going to discuss a universal Tier 1 behavioral support that is evidence-based and promotes a safe, pro-social environment called behavior-specific praise. During this behavior break, we will learn about the following topics: discuss multiple tiered systems of support, define behavior-specific praise, and give a step-by-step process for using tiered supports to aid in promoting a pro-social classroom. Multiple tiered systems of supports, or MTSS, is the pyramid that consists of tier 1, 2, and 3 supports. MTSS supports are comprised of two basic elements: academic response to intervention, also known as RTI, and behavioral RTI. If a student demonstrates aversive behaviors in the classroom, then learning is jeopardized for the student and potentially others. District and school teams often have academic response to intervention strategies. However, behavioral RT is the foundational missing element, which is a core feature of an intervention that must be in place to promote learning with academic RTI strategies. Let's go a little deeper today into learning about universal tier 1 strategies, such as behavior-specific praise, that facilitates core behavior and social skills for academic and behavioral participation to succeed in the classroom. To get desired behaviors, we must be intentional with our actions, and that fosters desired change. When using behavior-specific praise, we can approach this with 5 basic steps. The following are ways we can create these statements to influence the behavior outcomes of our students. 1. Choose and define desired behavior in observable and measurable terms. 2. Write a script of statements. 3. Make sure to use the 4-to-1 ratio. 4. Practice implementing our desired behavior statements. And 5. Track your use of these statements. Let's visit each stage to consider what is needed to be effective in its implementation. Outcomes create value due to meeting a desired goal. To create value in outcomes, it requires collaboratively established and agreed upon observable and measurable behaviors. Seeking student input on what desired behaviors are valuable to the classroom increase acceptance and value of these behaviors. Some questions to guide your students in this endeavor include: choose the desired behavior. You could do 2 possible things to help define this. You could list some behaviors and have the students add, or you could ask questions like, what do we need to do to ensure a safe classroom? How do we know when we created a safe classroom? What are some of our roles and responsibilities to make a safe classroom? Next, we need to define the behaviors from our list or our discussion. You'll have the students work with you to create these observable and measurable behaviors. For instance, what does our classroom behavior look like? What does our classroom behavior sound like? Let's talk more about defining those observable and measurable behaviors. You may already be using behavior-specific praise in the classroom, but really haven't been aware of it until now. 3 basic components in BSP are that the desired behavior is defined clearly, observed by others, and give descriptions of action that show energy or movement. If a dead man can do it, then the behavior is not specific enough. Behavior is an action that is done by an organism in the environment. Remember, action equals energy or movement. Make sure to avoid definitions that are passive actions like sitting, paying attention, or being quiet. A dead man can do all of these things. Another option for making sure behavior is defined in observable and measurable terms is to use the stranger test. If a stranger walked in off of the street and read this definition, are they able to read it and understand the definition so that you and both them can form agreement? For example, in this picture, the teacher can use behavior-specific praise that targets things about students reciting information verbally about scientific terms discussed aloud in class. For example, does this following behavior-specific praise demonstrate action that is observable and measurable? Raisha and Mike, your group gave us the exact steps for the cycle of the moon in relation to the Earth's rotation. Way to go. If you said yes, you are correct. The teacher's comment is complimentary, but it also gives the students information to identify what specific actions were completed that warranted this teacher's positive affirmation for the concepts that were discussed in the science class. The next step of BSP consists of writing a script that correlates with your classroom's behavior definition. This script can be placed or posted in various locations to visually cue you in using these statements during instruction. Posting of BSP during your interactions with students' statements aids your commitment in implementing this strategy. For example, in the elementary classroom, the teacher may use a statement such as, "Tom, thank you for raising your hand and waiting for me to call on you to share." Or in the secondary classroom, the teacher may comment with, "Each one of you have worked together to create this visual from the research you did on the internet. Keep going with your ideas." Now, there's going to be times that we need to make corrective statements. However, the use of statements must be limited and used with nonverbal communication. That is positive, such as our tone of voice and facial expressions that are not coercive to the student. The 4-to-1 ratio is also beneficial to use in behavior-specific praise. If you use a corrective statement with pro-social nonverbal communication, then immediately provide 4 positive behavior-specific praise statements. Be mindful, this ratio must increase for students with special needs to a ratio of 9-to-1. Let's look at an example where the teacher gives a corrective statement and then it's followed with 4 positive statements. For instance, the teacher says, "Susan, you need to be in line the first time I'm asking you. Rajaz, you are doing an excellent example of looking at the board for directions." She might also say, "Colin, I noticed that you immediately opened your book to page 125. She might also say, "I appreciate when you put away your materials when finished, Kiki." And then finally, "Thank you, Alma, for walking to the classroom quietly after recess." As you progress with using this strategy, remember this: Rome was not built in a day. Practice building your skill by starting in small, achievable steps. As you start, you may consider just targeting one or two behaviors during a class period that require this targeted intervention. Make sure to collect some data to see if it's effective. Finally, add more to the list of behavior-specific praises as you become more proficient. You will find that these statements are your first go-to before corrective statements over time. Charting the progress of your application is beneficial. A visual graph demonstrates your growth in being consistent with this strategy and reinforces your behavior to continue. You may use a chart that just records the number of times that you used behavior-specific praise in a class period. Over the course of time, you will see a trend of evaluation which indicates more frequent application of behavior-specific praise. In the graph above in session 1, no behavior-specific praise statements were used, but by sessions 2 and 3, at least one was consistently used. By sessions 4 through 6, 3 different statements were implemented, and by session 10, 9 various behavior-specific praise statements were implemented. The trend line indicates that this strategy is being used more frequently compared to when it was initiated. In summary, behavior-specific praise is a universal Tier 1 behavioral support, and it consists of choose and define desired behaviors, writing a script of statements to use, implementing the 4-to-1 ratio, and also remember to increase 9-to-1 for students that require more supports, put into practice as much as possible, and track your use over time to see how much of a difference your behavior-specific praise skills increase and reach that desired outcome agreed upon by you and your students. Thank you for attending this behavior break, and I hope that the information you obtained today will help you be more intentional about your teaching practices in your classroom that provide a positive, safe learning environment for all your students.